Desperately trying to switch out, but switch timer simply isn't up, but Grumpig able to psywave farm down, leaving with a charge move on 1 HP and a dream. The opponent sends out Tentacle, we pivot into Forretress. The opponent has the opportunity to make a catch, we pause a turn, ensuring the Earthquake lands on his intended target, and get that Tentacle off my screen. Welcome back to the channel. Season 22 gave us one of the biggest move updates in recent Pokemon Go PvP history. This season, we've got so many new top meta threats, especially Shadow Pokemon in the Open Ultra League. And I'm here to show you not one, not two, but three of them right off the bat. If you look at the team we're running today, last season, all three of them would have been very niche Spice. Well, to be honest, Blastoise and Forretress would have been Spice. You've been an absolute lunatic to run Grumpig. How much thought went into this team building? I'll be honest, I thought all three of these Pokemon have been buffed. I can't wait to use them. I dumped all of them on the same team and headed to battle. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game one, I'm going to be perfectly honest, it's actually game two as game one. I didn't check the fast move on Blastoise and I was stuck on Water Gun. And in the second battle, things aren't looking much better as I lead Forretress into a Mud Slap Excadrill. We say switch into Grumpig, fire off the Dynamic Punch, forcing us an early shield advantage. I'm happy to match Protect Shield as Grumpig, much like Pokemon like Golurk, Primeape and Annihilate, has Fighting and Ghost coverage that is currently unresisted in Pokemon Go PvP. However, the opponent sends out Gator and I very quickly regret investing that Protect Shield with the opponent able to fire off the Hydro Cannon, winning the charge attack priority. I send back out Forretress, fire off 2 Volt Switches. Instead of tanking the Hydro Cannon onto Forretress where it will do a lot, we pivot into Blastoise looking to absorb the energy. Shadow Blastoise, respectively bulky. However, I'm going to invest the Protect Shield here, knowing Blastoise is going to have to do the heavy lifting. We shield up the Hydro Cannon, throw the correct one roller and the Hydro Cannon. This won't quite be lethal, but should enable a rollout farm down afterwards. The opponent not wanting to get farm down, send out Typhlosion. Again, good fast move time in his 3 rollouts and the Hydro Cannon. The opponent now receives the energy for the Thunder Punch. We attempt to catch on Forretress unsuccessfully. The opponent fires off the Blast Burn, removing me from the field of play. Back out comes Blastoise. We're not messing around. We're just going to remove this thing straight from my screen. Down goes Typhlosion. Excadrill re-enters the arena. We're going to pause a turn, ensuring this Hydro Cannon lands on its intended target. No catch attempt is made. To be honest, unsure if the opponent's switch timer's up, but regardless, we roll out farm down and take that game. So if you can't tell, I'm a god-awful accent. I'm from the UK. Leagues rotate at 9 PM. I played 2 battles last night. One was obviously with that Water Gun Blastoise, and that was the second one. I thought, this is far too sweaty. I'm going to bed. So we're going to pick things up today. Early morning battles. Let's see if it goes any better. I led Shadow Forretress into Guzzlord, a very scuffed matchup. The opponent say switched into Galarian Moltres, which is a bit of a questionable play. I fired off the Rock Tomb, forcing a shield advantage. I sent out Blastoise, correctly no shield the Ancient Power, shield up the Brave Bird, and fully roll out farm down. Back out comes Guzzlord. We've got Ice Beam, and you better believe we're yodeling it. Ice Beam, forces the Protect Shield. We're going to farm up to the next one. Pause, ensuring the opponent doesn't make a catch, and this second Ice Beam lands on its intended target. Unfortunately, Guzzlord is going to be able to fully Dragon Tail farm down. However, Forretress, respectively bulky, even in its shadow form, can tank any one move, even a crunch. The opponent fire off the Brutal Swing. And looking at my health, I look like I just about survived the next Brutal Swing. We're going to risk it for a biscuit. Brutal Swing gets me deep into the red. We're able to survive, reach the Rock Tomb. Rock Tomb picks up the knockout, and we are spamming the switch. Out comes Typhlosion. Grumpig sitting in a prime position to clean up for 1 to no shield advantage. The opponent farmed to the Blast Burn, which I will be respecting. The opponent go for the Thunder Punch bait, but unfortunately no bait will be saving this opponent's fate. We fire off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball isn't quite lethal, but able to psywave farm down afterwards and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Corviknight in the lead. The opponent farm up some energy, send out Giratina. Forretress, with access to Rock Tomb, is very annoying, and we're going to debuff the opponent before sending out Blastoise. Rock Tomb did 2 things for me there. Not only lowered Giratina's damage output, but also put in range where 1 Ice Beam should be removing them from the field of play. My opponent's actually throwing Shadow Sneak, so it looks like their second move is potentially Ancient Power. However, if their second move is actually Dragon Claw does exactly the same amount of damage as a Shadow Sneak, but of course is the cheaper energy, making it more energy efficient. Ice Beam picks up the knockout, back out comes Corviknight, and Blastoise still not done. Gonna fire off the Hydro Cannon, doing some very decent chip damage. Well, not that much chip damage to be fair, as this thing's insanely bulky, especially when fully excelled. My opponent throws at very nice timing just before the next Hydro Cannon's reach. Blastoise has done its job and I elect to let it go down. I send out Forretress and my opponent is completely core broken. Out comes Shadow Gator. We're going to shield up the Hydro Cannon as the first one will do the most damage, as of course I am going to lower the damage output with the Rock Tomb that I instant throw. The opponent able to reach yet another Hydro Cannon. I'm going to invest the Protect Shield here. I'm then going to throw 2 Volt Switches, bank all this energy and catch onto Grumpig. This of course isn't a great matchup for Grumpig, but they are debuffed. Hydro Cannon doesn't do too much damage to the opponent. Rather than concede a farm down, send back out Corviknight and I'm going straight for the Dynamic Punch. Neither of these charge moves get same type attack bonus. Dynamic Punch is more energy efficient, but Shadow Ball will do slightly more. The opponent unwilling to shield the Dynamic Punch, saving that Protect Shield evidently for next season as we Volt Switch farm down Corviknight, Volt Switch farm down Gator and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow Gallade in the lead. Somewhat of a core breaker for me, of course. Blastoise isn't going to fancy this matchup either. The opponent farm up to a potential close combat. I look to call the bait and get nuked through 2 Protect Shields in classic Jamie Finn fashion. That close combat did so much that now a double resisted Leaf Blade would knock me out. We shield up the Leaf Blade. We're just going to pause, fire off the Rock Tomb, removing Gallade from the field of play. However, we've almost lost all our health. We send out Blastoise as out comes Typhlosion. Thunder Punch will be super effective, but I'm already down 1 Protect Shield and I can't shield this. I intend to throw 3 rollouts and the Hydro Cannon. However, I think as Typhlosion was still on my screen, I should have thrown it suboptimal timing, 1 rollout and the Hydro Cannon, just looking to force a shield back. Out comes Greninja and things are looking dire. I was able to force a Protect Shield off this Greninja. However, I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to remove this Greninja off my screen either. I'm not going to shield Blastoise. Grumpig has access to Dynamic Punch, but the opponent's overfarmed and they very much outpace. Grumpig hits the field of play. You never want to shield the first move in case the opponent gets the boost. Speaking of which, there is the boost. We're able to catch back onto Forretress, but I think it's simply too little too late. Night Slash picks up the knockout. We send back out Grumpig. The opponent already on the next Night Slash. We are going to invest a Protect Shield. With the opponent smart, they'll go for the wham, bam, combo play right on cue. There it is. Typhlosion re-enters the arena. The opponent fire off the Thunder Punch and take that game. Very well played to that opponent. GG's. Heading into the next battle, we lead Forretress into Guzzlord. We've seen this lead already. The last opponent opted to pivot out. However, they really don't need to, as this isn't the worst matchup for them whatsoever. My non-stab Volt Switches are resisted, though Dragon Tails are also resisted, but doing evidently more. The opponent opts to fire off the Sludge Bomb. Why? I'm not entirely sure, as Steel double resist poison, not that I'm complaining. We fire off the correct 2 Volt Switches and the Rock Tomb lands and debuffs their attack. The next time the opponent does throw the correct move with the Brutal Swing, we're able to withstand the damage once again, commit to good fast move time. It's using a 4-turn move into a 3-turn move. It's pretty awkward to be honest, you need to either throw 2 or 5. Thankfully, we're able to align ourselves correctly, throwing 2 quick moves and a charge move both times. We pivot into Blastoise and out comes Ampharos. As I have a shield advantage, I shield the first charge move and I'm grateful I did, as the opponent's actually on Thunder Punch, which would have knocked me out. Again, good fast move timing, so 3-turn into 4-turn. You ideally want to throw 1 or 5, so I'm able to throw 1 rollout and the Hydro Cannon, 1 further roller and the next Hydro Cannon. The opponent gets greedy, misjudging just how spammy Blastoise is, and they get removed from the field of play. Back out comes Guzzlord. Guzzlord fires off the Brutal Swing and down goes Blastoise. The opponent does have residual energy, so I send out Grumpig. I am going to shield up the Brutal Swing, and I'm thinking, do I want to knock him out or do you want to make a catch? This is Jamie Finn we're talking about. Of course I go for the catch. Not that I'm really going to do too much with that catch, as I'm already quite capped on energy. I think a better play would have been firing off the Dynamic Punch and saving the potential catch for whatever's in the back. Dynamic Punch picks up the knockout, out comes Annihilate. Thankfully, we've got a very positive matchup in the back. We fire off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball doesn't get the same type attack bonus, but rocks them into the red. We're able to psywave farm down before the Rage Fist is reached, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see Ampharos in the lead. This essentially is where the team wants to see it. They're either going to have Trailblaze, Brutal Swing, or perhaps Thunder Punch and Brutal Swing, or even Zap Cannon. So the back 2 Pokemon will be taken super effective. We tank the first charge move, fire off the Earthquake. The opponent looks to call the bait and get nuked through 2 Protect Shields. Out comes Walrein. Walrein, of course, doesn't have a particularly great matchup into Forretress, but we pivot into Blastoise, saving it for whatever's in the back. Out comes Crobat, the opponent triple weak to Forretress. We full send the Ice Beam, once again nuking the opponent through 2 Protect Shields, and unfortunately it's all going wrong for this opponent. We fire off the Hydro Cannon, Down goes Crobat, the opponent putting all their hopes and dreams on Walrein, but Walrein going to be greeted with a Hydro Cannon. A Hydro Cannon forces the opponent's first Protect Shield, and the opponent is going to be forced to throw. Walrein now at a shield disadvantage at half health, and it needs to 1v2. We send back out Forretress. The opponent is going to have to dump an Earthquake to remove me from the field of play. I say enjoy yourself, trainer. They go for the Icicle Sphere bait, and that bait is going to seal their fate, and they concede the match. In the next battle, we see Optimus Prime in the lead. A pretty awkward lead. We're going to say switch into Blastoise, and out comes Gator. This has kind of worked out nice for me. If we can gain a shield advantage or soft lose this matchup, a Volt Switch farm down this Gator, we can start dumping some Earthquakes at Zygarde. Fortress Zygarde is dreadful. Our Volt Switches are triple resisted. With an energy lead, we can probably make something happen. We're able to obtain ourselves our shield advantage, and Gator doesn't even overfarm whatsoever. I am going to let Blastoise go down. The opponent doesn't knock me out of a Hydro Cannon and do get off one further Shadow Claw. I send out Fortress, looking for the Volt Switch farm down. The opponent not wanting to get farmed down, send back out Zygarde. This at worst is a Crunch, which won't do much. They actually fire off the Bulldoze, which is an easy tank. Again, good fast move time. I'm going to keep saying it. 2 Volt Switches, which is 8 turns, into 3 Dragon Tails. We land the Earthquake, then make the pivot into Grumpig. This isn't enough for even Outrage or Earthquake, so we should tank any one move. The opponent fire off the Bulldoze, but right on cue we get debuff, which is bloody annoying. Dynamic Punch is more energy efficient, but Shadow Ball will do more. I was anticipating a no shield, so we fire off the Shadow Ball. The opponent invests that Protect Shield and send back out Gator. I'm hoping after I fired this charge move, my switch timer's up. You can see I'm spamming the switch timer doesn't pop up, but able to farm down afterwards, leaving with a charge move. The opponent unlikely to send back out Zygarde, send out Tentacruel. We're going to pause, ensuring the opponent doesn't make a catch. High Tentacruel, bye Tentacruel, get that annoying squid off my screen. Earthquake cleanly picks up the one shot, back out comes Zygarde. I've got a shield, I may as well invest it here. Just look to put them in a range where one move will be lethal. We commit to the Earthquake. Earthquake certainly going to put them in a range where either a Dynamic Punch or Shadow Ball will be lethal. Even if the opponent's doubled up here, Zygarde doesn't win too many charge attack priorities and certainly won't be winning a charge attack priority against my Grumpig. Grumpig enters the arena 1 HP and a Dream, fires off the Shadow Ball, hitting no bubbles, and we take that game. In the next battle, once again, we see Ampharos in the lead, exactly where the team wants to see it. Last time, we was able to nuke the opponent through 2 Protect Shields. For those of you that watched the channel before, you better believe we are YOLOing the Earthquake. Does the opponent respect the damage? Earthquake picks up the one shot. The opponent looks to call the Rock Tomb, but unfortunately for this opponent, there are no baits on this channel. Once again, we're going to say switch into Blastoise. Of course, Grumpig has Dynamic Punch for coverage, which will be able to deal with this Obstagoon should it get aligned later on. We tank the Night Slash, fire off the Hydro Cannon. At this point, we're probably in Night Slash range, or at least Night Slash and counter farm down range. I've got 2 shields. I am going to invest one here and then fire off the correct one rollout and the next Hydro Cannon. The opponent's still hanging on to 2 Protect Shields. Hydro Cannon forces the first Protect Shield off him, and we're able to outpace the Hydro Cannon number 2. Let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent go all in on Obstagoon. Are we able to reach one further Hydro Cannon? Unfortunately, we're not. We would have needed DRE, and we're unable to get it. Fortress can tank any one move. So my thought process here is tank one move, shield the next move, Volt Switch farm down, and then either Earthquake or debuff whatever's in the back. However, the opponent gets the boost, meaning I'm unable to Volt Switch farm down. Absolutely brutal. Out comes Swampert. So we've already established, as I've said it, probably about 3 or 4 times. Shadow Ball does slightly more damage. I'm going to tank the Hydro Cannon, throw the Shadow Ball at the last second, maximising my psywave damage. Is Shadow Ball enough to knock out? No, it is not. So as I've been playing these battles, one thing I've noticed about Grumpig, in the Ultra League, you really do notice that neither its charge moves get the same type attack bonus. In the Great League, Pokemon are kind of squishy, but in Ultra League, you really do start to notice that. Heading into the next battle, we see Drifblim in the lead. As the opponent's staying in, I've got a sneaky feeling they might have Mystical Fire. I invest that Protect Shield, and I'm grateful I did, as that would have been double super effective. Again, good fast move time and 2 Volt Switches and the Rock Tomb, and then we save switch into Blastoise. Our Blastoise save switch is once again met by Gator. So is Gator better than Blastoise? I'll be honest, I think they kind of play out the same. Blastoise has slightly more bulk, but I think Shadow Claw is an objectively better move than Rollout. What I have noticed this season is a lot of Gators are now opting for Crunch over Ice Beam. That's probably to help against opposing water types such as Blastoise and Lapras that I expect to be more common later on in the season. Once again, we soft lose this mid-game matchup, but that should be 1 Volt Switch range, meaning Forretress is going to leave a Rock Tomb. The opponent send back up Drifblim. We end up catching the Mystical Fire back onto Grumpig, banking that charge move, potentially for the endgame. The opponent's still going to need the Shadow Ball to knock me out. We're going to call yet another Mystical Fire. We're able to successfully call the bait. And despite being double debuffed, Shadow Ball still going to knock them out as they're on hardly any HP. Shadow Ball forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. I'm looking at the health thinking, please be 1 Volt Switch range as they're only 1 Hex off the next charge move. We send out Forretress, the opponent able to survive and are now permanently debuffed for the remainder of the game. That debuff is going to prove to be super annoying as out comes Blastoise, something we'd normally be advantageous into, but not with a debuffed attack. Rock Tomb does absolutely nothing. We are going to be able to survive a Hydro Cannon really easily. I think in hindsight, double Earthquake potentially would have been the way to go. We are going to fire off the Earthquake as it does do more, but Earthquake simply doesn't cut it. The opponent going to be able to outpace to the next Hydro Cannon. But in hindsight, if I wouldn't have debuffed him, I probably would have got rollout farm down. And either way, we're going to take a loss. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see G.Weezing in the lead. So if you watched my upload yesterday, I got hit in the face with an overheat. I am not doing that again. The opponent fire off the Brutal Swing bait, but sometimes it's better to be safe than sorry. Trainer, guess what? You're going to give me that Protect Shield back or get nuked through 2 Protect Shields. Earthquake once again lands through 2 Protect Shields. My, we landed some Earthquakes today. Out comes Blastoise, which doesn't have a particularly good matchup here. So we're going to fire off the Rock Tomb, forcing that Protect Shield and enter the mirror. The opponent farms a potential Skull Bash, but they are debuffed. The opponent actually running a Skull Bash, but it doesn't even do half when they're debuffed. The opponent then sends out Poliwrath. Another team, triple weak to Forretress. I think Forretress, without a doubt, was the star of today's team. Blastoise only hitting for resisted. The rollout's resisted by the fighting typing, and the Hydro Cannon and Ice Beam respectively going to be resisted by the water typing. I don't believe I can survive 2 more counters, so I throw the Hydro Cannon on alignment, just wanting to get some damage off. We send out Grumpig. Grumpig going to be operating as the damage sponge. The opponent fire off the Scald, then pivot back into Blastoise, and back out comes Forretress. Of course, we're using an annoying debuff Pokemon, so I'm going to shield the first move and then look to debuff them. However, I'm going to look to throw out good timing, so the opponent actually able to outpace, but the non-shadow 1 Hydro Cannon simply won't get the job done. We're then going to farm up to the double Rock Tomb. You know the drill. The first one will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield, and the second one is going to be all she wrote. You can already see by the message pop up in the right hand corner the opponent has conceded the match. GG's. Holy, in the next battle we see some insane spice. A Legacy Gust Staraptor. I'm shielding whatever they throw. Fly, close combat, everything hits like a truck when you're a Staraptor user. The opponent force a protection with a close combat, then send out Swampert. We're going to fire off the Earthquake, putting it in a range where a Hydro Cannon will knock them out. Blastoise, unlike Gator, can survive a Shadow Earthquake reasonably well, although this opponent go for the Hydro Cannon bait, which certainly works out for me. We throw 1 rollout, fire off the next Hydro Cannon before the opponent potentially reaches an Earthquake, although this again is just a Hydro Cannon. The opponent doesn't have the energy for an Earthquake. Blastoise once again absorbs the energy. The opponent then send out Staraptor. Staraptor looking for the snipe, but unable to get it before the next Hydro Cannon's reach. Hydro Cannon picks up the knockout. Out comes Cresselia. Switch time is up, so we pivot back into Forretress. And of course, we're going to be super annoying, firing off yet more debuffs. Every single charge move Cresselia learns will be resisted. Future Sight resisted due to our steel typing. Aurora Beam resisted. Grass Knot double resisted. And Moonblast also resisted. The opponent fired off the Future Sight. Then throw a double resisted Grass Knot. They pivot back out into Swampert. We've got energy. We fire off the Rock Tomb, even resisted. It removes them from the field of play. Back out comes Cresselia. And Forretress gonna fire off yet more debuffs, putting the final nail in this opponent's coffin. I send out Grumpig, anticipate the opponent top left in, but they're playing it out to the very bitter end. The opponent's debuffed and can only throw Future Sights and Grass Knots, which simply aren't going to cut it. The opponent fire off the Future Sight, then throw a Grass Knot. Grumpig withstands both charge moves, commits to that resisted, psywave farm down, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see Hisuian Samurott in the lead. The opponent opting to stay in a very bad matchup. I'll be honest, I don't have one of these things registered my Pokédex, and I don't even know what it learns. I shield with an Icy Wind, which is arguably the worst Protect Shield I've invested in my GBL career. After this matchup, I looked on PvPoke. So if you, like me, don't know the moveset, it learns Icy Wind, Dark Pulse, X-Scissor, and Razor Shell. None of them which would be all that threatening to my Bug Steel typing. Out comes G.Weezing. I'm looking for some redemption. Invest in a Paw Protect Shield. I Full Send the Earthquake, even debuffed, rocking the opponent into the red. We pivot into Blastoise, baiting out Galvantula. Blastoise going to burn the final Protect Shield. No, we're going to force both off this Galvantula. Again, one rollout and the first Hydro Cannon. The opponent really needs Shield Galvantula. It's the only healthy remaining Pokemon. Again, one rollout and the next Hydro Cannon. The opponent more or less need to throw instantly, or will reach one more. The opponent desperately trying to overfarm. Another opponent just not up to speed with just how spammy Blastoise is. Hydro Cannon picks up the knockout. Back out comes G.Weezing. The opponent can knock me out with a Brutal Swing or Sludge. Brutal Swing picks up the knockout. We send out Forretress, Volt Switch farm down, and Grumpig gets a well-deserved rest on the bench. Although in fairness, not that well-deserved. It hasn't been particularly good today. In the next battle, we see Cobalion in the lead. Another kind of awkward matchup for us, as we are a 4-turn move user into 3. So if I want to throw a good fast move time, the opponent's just going to keep spamming the absolute life out of me with charge moves. Earthquake will be super effective. We're not a ground type. I'm not entirely sure how much this will do. I go well over 100 energy, anticipating this being Earthquake range. Another opponent get nuked through 2 Protect Shield. I love the fact that Rock Tomb's now cheaper. Everyone calls the Rock Tomb bait, and I'm not messing around. Out comes Annihilate. We Full Send the Earthquake, guaranteeing our Protect Shield back, and pivot into Blastoise. No one move will be lethal. The opponent actually running Night Slash. They're not even on Legacy Rage Fist. I think if you want to use Annihilate, it's certainly worth an Elite TM. Rage Fist is just such a better move than Night Slash, come with a 100% chance to buff up your own attack. If this opponent was running Rage Fist, they'd probably be able to counter farm me down before this next Hydro Cannon's reached. As they hasn't buffed up their own attack, I'm even able to commit to good fast move timing, maximise my rollout damage. Not that rollout's doing anything, as of course they are a fighter. We send out Grumpig, go for the show and go catching, back onto a Forretress, we psywave farm down Annihilate's remaining HP, out comes Nidoking. Nidoking not going to have a good time here whatsoever. The opponent fire off the Poison Fang, we're going to tank the first move. In case Shadow Ball doesn't do enough, we fire off one psywave and the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball once again very underwhelming in the Ultra League, but we're going to be able to psywave farm down and take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Clefable in the lead. The opponent interestingly opting to stay in, which once again means another opponent probably core broken by the mighty Forretress. Much like the Cresselia we previously saw, everything Clefable can learn is going to be resisted. But that Moonblast actually did a solid amount of resisted damage, around 35-40%. We fire off the Rock Tomb. We are just going to overfarm here, and we survive yet another Moonblast, especially when they're debuffed. Moonblast puts me into the red. We throw one further Volt Switch and the Rock Tomb, and from this range, Rock Tomb will be enough to get the job done. The opponent then send out Virizion. Of course, Blastoise doesn't want to see it, so we're just going to stay in, elect to let myself go down, and align ourselves correctly in the end. The opponent does get a nice double kick farm down, but Grumpig very advantageous into Virizion. The opponent reset their debuff, sending out Gator, and Blastoise hits the field of play. I've already decided at this point that all my shields are going to Grumpig. It hasn't been particularly good so far in today's showcase. I'm not sure if it's not a great Pokemon or I just didn't have a good time with it, but I just really didn't enjoy using it. I think both Blastoise and Forretress are very good. I think just them double charge moves that don't get the same type of attack bonus from Grumpig just aren't quite as good as they are in the Great League. Of course, in Ultra League, Mon are just a lot more bulky and able to tank multiple charge moves than Grumpig. The opponent go for the combo play, fire off the Leaf Blade. Grumpig enters the arena. I'm going to tank the Leaf Blade, as Leaf Blade isn't going to do as much as a charge move from that Gator. We overfarm, fire off the Shadow Ball. A Shadow Ball does slightly more, and I need to knock this thing out. Shadow Ball picks up the knockout, back out comes Gator. The opponent is going to need a fast move, beat me all the way down. Grumpig holds strong, gets that Psywave farm down, and I take that game. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's showcase. I kind of touched on it in the final battle. Grumpig didn't impress me whatsoever. I know a lot of people don't actually have one of these for the Ultra League, and I personally don't think you're missing out on all that much. However, when it comes to Forretress, my, this thing was so much fun. I think it will suit your playstyle a lot if you're someone who doesn't like to bait, as I was able to land so many Earthquakes through 2 Protect Shields. Again, I don't think that many people have got access to a Shadow Forretress, but it performs objectively worse than the regular variant according to PvPoke. So if you've just got the regular, I think you could power that up and have just as much success. Blastoise looks very, very ominous in this meta. Kind of plays out the same as Gator, just for a little bit more bulk. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, a link to my battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.